In this video, we'll look at how CSS uses selectors. So there's several ways that you can define a selector or use a selector within CSS and HTML. The classic way or the default way is just to modify the tag overall. So you can see here we're declaring that the paragraph tag will be universally, anytime it's called up in the HTML document, will be, in this case, aligned to center in color red. So if we look at how this looks in the code, you can see that we have an internal CSS sheet here, and when the paragraph tags are called up, automatically these particular properties will be applied to that particular tag. So that's the classic way, and most people use that one all the time. Another way, which is very useful of using the selectors in CSS, is to have something called an ID. So let's just say, for example, we don't want to always apply that paragraph rule. What we can do is we can have something called an ID, and we can limit it to only having that particular format for that particular tag with that ID. So how does this look like inside the tag? So you can see here we use a hashtag in front to basically say that this is going to be affecting the ID called para1. And inside here, you can see that we have the ID para1. Now, if I remove that ID para1, then we will not have that effect applied anymore. To run that, see, you can see here it hasn't been affected. So this is a really good way if you want to have a particular format only applied to a tag in a particular circumstance. And usually we use this in formatting of different tags. Another way that you can use selectors in CSS is you can use something called the class. And the class is here, we've got class center. The way it's designated is instead of using a hashtag, we use a dot. This is a very common way of formatting pages, and if you have an external CSS sheet and you want to basically do a universal way. So if you want to look at it, how it looks, you can see in here we have the dot center, and if we go down, instead of using ID, we have a class called center, and the same thing here. So the class here is really good. I would use this when you're looking at CSS across multiple HTML files, where the ID tag is really good when you have inside one particular HTML file. And we'll look at this in more detail when we start doing more advanced CSS. They're the main ways of doing it. You've got some other examples in here if you want to look at the link in the description. I recommend you use either the default one, the class or ID. You can also have something called the wildcard, which is the asterisk. And what this means is this rule will have an impact across all tags in the HTML document. So if you look at this one here, when we're saying that inside this document here, all text is centered, all text is blue, because everything in there, regardless of whether it's a heading 1 tag or regardless of whether or not it's a paragraph tag. Just close it down. So if we look at this again, you can see that regardless of what tag is in here, it's going to use the blue and center. I personally don't use this universal tag very often. I would strongly suggest you either use the default one or use the ID or class. So in summary, always when you're declaring your selectors, you have to think about, am I using the simple selector, which is just defining the tag, or should I think about having the ID, which is the hashtag, or should I have the class, which is the dot? And I think most people nowadays use either this one or this one when managing larger, more complicated sites. If you have any more questions about CSS, please look at my other videos.